Hey, what's going on, you beautiful people? It's Sunday, September 21st, 2014. This is Peace News. I'm your host, Derek J. You can watch the show live at PeaceNewsNow.com/live. You can also check out me at my website, derekj.me. You can dial into the show, take control, share your thoughts on peaceful resistance and what's going on in the world. 443-424-8347 is our call-in line. That gets you on the air. You can also Skype. Send a contact request to Peace News Now. That will be accepted, and then I will put you on the air. This show is entirely sponsored by you, the viewers. So go on over to derekj.me/sponsor, or just scan the QR code that you see on your screen to donate Bitcoin. We've got news for you today. Oh, we're not going to get to all of them, I know already. Plus, you can share your thoughts. So it's why Scottish independence failed. Ooh, crushing blow to Scottish independence this week. Plus, another article from LouRockwell.com titled "Some Scottish Voters Sold Out to the Dole." That gives you a clue as to why Scottish independence failed. Maybe they just weren't ready for it yet. Plus, 1 in 4 Americans want to secede. A man asserts his rights with lasers on his chests. Apple will no longer unlock phones for the police. San Fran restaurant brings wage war to Yelp. Bitcoin ATMs take over New Hampshire. Florida gubernatorial candidate dares authorities to arrest him. A sit-in at a local school is a success. A kid gets detention for sharing lunch with a classmate. An Illinois judge declares that SWAT raids for parody Twitter accounts are okay, and much, much more. All those stories coming to you at PeaceNewsNow.com. But first, let's begin at LouRockwell.com, where the article by Russia Today is headlined 8 Reasons Why Scots Voted No to Independence. So this is not from it is shared from LouRockwell.com, an anti-state, anti-war, pro-market website, but it is not written by any of the commentators there. So it is strictly a Russia Today article. They should be taking the standpoint of the mainstream media. They're alternative media for the U.S., but they're funded by the Kremlin. They're funded by the Russian government, so keep that in mind. It begins. Scottish citizens have voted to stay in the UK, with the no camp securing 55% of votes against 45% for yes. Support for independence energized huge swaths of the population. So why did the majority vote no? Well, number one, better off together. The pro-union Better Together campaign highlighted Scotland's shared historical ties with its English, Welsh, and Northern Irish neighbours. The referendum has thrown up soul-searching questions of what it means to be British. The allure of these shared historical bonds no doubt swayed some voters to reject independence. And it's really strange, the Better Together mentality. That's a lot like an abuser or an abused significant other. Maybe it's a wife or a husband, as the case may be. But when friends and family, who you would think would be supporters of getting a person out of harm's way, of better together instead of pro-independence, well then, that means that 55% of the population is enslaving 45% of the population. They're enslaving them to their own worldview, to their own desires for dependence, as it were. Let's continue with this article where number 2, fear. Many Scots were afraid of how an independent Scotland might change their day-to-day lives. While the Yes Camp's case for independence attracted millions of voters, the task of building a workable independent nation proved too daunting for many. The No campaign slogan, "Why take the risk?" no doubt played on part of this fostering view. Yes campaigners say Project Fear was a concerted effort by the British establishment to stave off a split. Here's a tweet from Lucy Rosenstein, who writes, "Looks like the Project Fear lies have worked. The people of Scotland will get what they voted for. God help them." Yes supporters argued that other countries with the same population or land masses Scotland following independence, citing countries that used the Scandinavian model. With just over 5 million people spread over a large landmass, however, it appears some voters felt Scotland would not constitute a viable independent state. I wonder why not? Like, what vision of a modern state do these people have that they would lack with Scotland? Roads? Would the roads just suddenly disappear? Oh, what would we do without the Queen? The Queen's roads? Or what would we do without schools? The schools will disappear without Mother Britain to help us and hold our hand because we're not good enough for independence. Oh, thank goodness. We're safe, back in Mommy's arms again. Mommy government, making Scotland feel safe. Number 3, status quo. The Yes campaign claims that independence would create more jobs, protect the National Health Service, alleviate poverty, and protect public service. Many felt that during a time of financial instability, keeping the status quo was the safest bet. This includes the question of currency. First Minister Alex Salmond argued for a currency union with the UK and a continued use of the pound. The main Westminster overruled this option, leaving Scotland a choice between a new Scottish currency or adopting the troubled euro. Uncertainty over Scottish tender will have endeared many to the status quo. Yes, it can be very scary to try something new. But when what you've got is broken and isn't working, well, then trying something new is just what the doctor ordered. You can't keep doing the same thing expecting a different result. So, yeah, I wish you had tried independence. Prestige and pride comes in at number 4. Once independent, the Yes camp had wished to seek Scottish membership of the European Union. All right. However, the European Union is a divisive issue in the UK. Some argued, including the UKIP leader Nigel Farage, that an independent Scotland could break ties with Westminster, only to find its freedom curtailed by Brussels. Supporters of the European Union may have also had their membership dreams dashed, as key European leaders, including the Spanish Prime Minister, suggested they would block Scotland's entry. Here's a tweet from AFP. Breaking. EU's Barroso says Scotland vote good for stronger Europe. Well, beyond Europe, Scotland also benefits from a seat at the G7 and on the UN Security Council by virtue of being a part of the UK. Splitting from the Union could result in Scotland lacking a global voice. Well, that's some of the concern. We'll continue with more of these concerns from an author at Russia Today. Just keep in mind that they're writing from the point of view of an empire. This is Peace News.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin. mymagicmud.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, Vodafone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm.
Kay Oliver is part of the Twayambe Women's Group in Jinja, Uganda. She gets old clothes, fixes them up, washes them, and then sells them at the Jinja market. She was quite happy with her success at her business, but realized that a sewing machine would really help her make more money to take care of her 2 kids. Free Talk Live helped her get that sewing machine. You can help us help more people by getting your coffee through coffee.freetalklive.com. Make a difference, 1 cup at a time. Get a free pound, try out the subscription, cancel at any time, coffee.freetalklive.com.
Did you know that you can listen to LRN.FM 24/7 via our free-to-air satellite channel? From Mexico to Canada, our signal covers nearly all of North America. All you need is a view of the southern sky, an affordable receiver, and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you're a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage map and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went to join the Free State Project and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I am, is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your AMP will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Welcome back to Peace News. We're chatting about Scotland's independence, or rather their dependence. We're talking about an article from Russia Today, reposted to LouRockwell.com, where one author is making the case why Scotland voted against independence. Why did that vote fail? Most of the reasons point to fear in one way or another. And here's reason number 5. More powers from Westminster. One option not featured on the ballot paper was Devo Max, which would offer a new slew of developed powers to the Scottish Parliament. As a last-minute offer to rescue the Union, the leaders of the UK's 3 biggest parties signed a pledge to give Scotland fully devolved powers over taxes, spending, and welfare. Do you think this could have had anything to do with the results? More power over taxes, spending, and welfare? This is a tweet from David Cameron. Quote, I've just spoken to Alex Salmond, congratulating him on a hard-fought campaign. I'm delighted the SNP will join talks on further devolution. Must be the Scottish Nationalist Party. Whether Westminster will stick to its pledge is unclear, but the offer appears to have swung those who initially thought such powers could only be secured under independence. Yeah, okay, well, that's an interesting argument. Some people thought, we want the power over taxes and spending and welfare, and then Westminster, the people in power over in Britain, were like, oh, it's okay, you can have that. You don't need to break up with us. Stay together, please. We'll give you anything you want. This is like such a bad breakup. And Scotland just can't shake it. They're the abusive wife, or the abused wife, just keeps running back to the Queen, the King and Queen. I guess in this case, it's either I don't know. I guess it's an abused husband, William Wallace. All right, number 6, support for Westminster parties. Of course, a section of no voters do support the Conservatives, Labour, and Liberal Democrats, the UK's 3 main political parties. No doubt, there are many among the no ranks who genuinely believe Scotland can get the best political representation under a Westminster government. Alex Salmond and the Scottish National Party court mistrust among sections of Scottish society. So this from the UK Labour Party Twitter account saying, quote, to everyone who voted no, talked to voters, posted online, or did anything else with Scottish Labour or UK together, thank you. Number 7, it's the economy, stupid. The UK government pushed the message that Scots would be financially worse off after independence. No campaigners said Scotland could secure its future by sharing in the common resources of the UK. Yikes. That collectivist language is so nasty. You could secure your future by sharing in the common resources of the UK. It means secure your future, get everything you want, be promised a future of comfort by sharing in the common resources, stealing the government-owned resources of the UK. I mean, you really have to unpack this language. There's so much propaganda packed into these words that it can be very confusing. They often use words and sentences that say one thing and mean the exact opposite of what they're actually saying. So continuing the quote, again, a fear of going it alone without a share of the wealth will have swayed some to no voters. The Yes campaign has said from the very beginning that the social democracy they envisage for Scotland could be underwritten by the vast oil reserves in the North Sea's Scottish territories. Many no voters were unconvinced by this analysis, sensing the oil would not last forever and that alternative sources of revenue, including higher taxation, could haunt them later down the line. These are problems that would not go away under Westminster. I'm sorry, like, this is not a legitimate reason. These people who voted no, these are not reasons for voting no. These are not reasons for enslaving your fellow Scottish friends and family, enslaving them to the Westminster government that you cling to dependently and can't trust your friends and family around you in your immediate environment to be independent of them. I mean, that's ridiculous, that you would be so fearful of a world where the Queen doesn't rule over Scotland that you must physically condone the enslavement of your friends and family. It's really sad. I hope that people are able to see like really what's going on, that with a 55 to 45% split vote like that, 55% just enslaved the other 45%. I hope you guys see how clear that is. Number 8, and finally, defense and nuclear weapons. Oh God, don't tell me people are afraid that people are going to go invade Scotland if they were independent. But here it comes. Scottish government pledged to remove the UK's Trident nuclear weapons from its shores if it secured independence. Uh-oh. It wished it had spent most of its defense budget on health, education, and other popular services. However, defense experts warned throughout the campaign that heightened tensions with Russia and the threat of global terrorism made UK's defense spending in nuclear weapons more relevant and necessary than ever. Disarmament also undermined Alex Salmond's case for joining NATO. So, okay, that's their reason to say, well, hey, Scotland, you sure do like to spend money on health, education, and other public services, but you've got it all wrong, see? You don't need health or education or public services. What you need are weapons and nuclear weapons. This will keep you safe because terrorism, and, by the way, Russia. So this is seriously the argument. It's lots of fear-mongering. There are no legitimate reasons for enslaving your fellow man. The only answer is really to own yourself and to become independent. Those of you in Scotland who voted against independence, shame on you. Shame on your worldview. It will be defeated because independence is the way of natural free humanity. We are not meant to be enslaved to our friends and fellow man. That is just not how the world works. And I'm sorry that it's going to take so long and so much wriggling and so much philosophizing before we can figure it out. But humans are meant to be free, damn it. That's how it is. I'm just going to tell you, humans are meant to be free. You know it in your heart. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So why would this vote go this way? It's so confusing to me because you've got films like Braveheart and Freedom and Independence. These are all right. Well, maybe we can figure it out because the next article at LouRockwell.com says Scottish voters sold out to the dole. This from Armstrong Economics, written by Martin Armstrong. It's a short article, so let's see if we can unpack this. In America, the support for Scottish independence was overwhelmingly, running 80% plus. Scottish flags were appearing everywhere. Even in Philadelphia, they hung one off the bridge. But in Scotland, where people rely upon handouts from Britain, the dole, self-interest prevailed. With all 32 council areas in Scotland now declared, the no secured 55% of the vote, with yes achieving 45%. The fate of Scotland now looks rather bleak. The turnout was strongest in the no camp, largely because of the elderly, who rely on pensions, and they were scared they would lose the dole. Oh. Well, isn't that how the farm works? Read Animal Farm, my friends, and you will know. This is Peace News. We'll be back with more stories of true life real animal farms.
Keenvention is coming up October 31st through November 2nd. Get your tickets now at keenvention.info. Keenvention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, attend social events like the costume party. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, James Robin Hood Cleveland, Rich Paul, and Free State Project President Carla Garrick will be keynoting. And we'll have all kinds of panels, including the new Cop Block panel and the new Movers panel hosted by the outlaw Josie Wales. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 31st through November 2nd. Only 100 tickets are available in advance, so lock yours in now for just $60 or with Bitcoin. Reserve your tickets now at keenvention.info. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? At Free Aid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
Andrew Michael Jones is a liberty-loving activist and participant in the Free State Project. He's also been accused of being one of the administrators of the infamous Silk Road Anonymous Black Marketplace. Andrew is facing a federal trial for multiple crimes with no victim. Whether or not he's the Silk Road administrator named Inigo, he has not been accused of harming anyone. In fact, the Silk Road is actually an amazing advancement that has reduced the overall harm in the black market to both customers and drug sellers. Whether or not he did it, Andrew, like alleged Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht, deserves the support of people who love liberty. Visit drewsdefense.org to learn more and contribute to his defense. You can donate via PayPal or in Bitcoin, as I did. That's drewsdefense.org. Drew's family does not have much, and his parents have put up their home and both retirement incomes to secure a $1 million bond on Andrew. He's currently on 24/7 house arrest and is prohibited from touching any device that could connect to the internet. Please contribute to his defense fund via drewsdefense.org.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
For over 12 years, Halverson Enterprises CEO Peter Weathers has taken a hands-on approach in all aspects of the tech firm's growth and day-to-day business. But employees say the executive's true talent lies in his unique ability to recognize great ideas and then absolutely ruin them.
For as long as I've worked here, Peter has been able to sit down in a meeting, listen to a million different ideas, pick out the one that makes the most sense creatively and financially, and then totally destroy it until there's basically nothing worthwhile about it left. He's remarkable.
Employees throughout the company say they're most impressed by Weathers' ability to water down promising ideas with meaningless jargon, consistently choose the wrong person to head up every project, and inject virtually every halfway decent thought with his own short-sighted and terrible insights.
At our all-hands meeting the other week, our team put forth a very feasible plan to boost productivity. And it was really incredible to see Peter's mind at work, just taking every good aspect of our proposal and dismantling it like a small child.
This is the Onion News Network.
While our satellite's free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the tip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back. This is Peace News. You can call in about Scottish independence, the dole, or anything peaceful resistance related. Our number is 443-424-8347. You can also send a Skype contact request to PeaceNewsNow, and I'll put you on the air. You can also tweet at me. I forgot to mention that. Tweet at Derek J. Me. That's M-E. So we're returning to a story from LouRockwell.com, where hopefully we can better understand why Scotland voted against independence. So the turnout was 85%, topping 90% in pro-union areas, but dipping to the mid-70s in key yes working-class areas. Not surprising that the people who it's most important to go out and vote for independence are busy doing other things. They don't have the time to go down to the polls and pull a lever, but who does? A bunch of old people who are stuck on the dole. It's so unfortunate that those productive of us in the world are enslaved to those who would leech off of us. They use the government to do it because they can't do it directly. It's much more effective to just vote for this big thug called the government to extract money from people by force rather than do it yourself. Especially if you're old, you probably don't have the means to go be a thug yourself and take money from those in the productive classes. But this is how it works in modern day Earth. Pretty much in every country, every modern industrialized nation, right? Because those places that have enough freedom to have abundance are also the types of places where scoundrels and leeches will seek proper gains, right? They're going to say, hey, look, they've got some extra stuff for me to take. So that's what happens in places like Scotland in America. So this is the very essence, returning to the article here, this is the very essence of the civil unrest that lies ahead. It's the classic Ayn Rand scenario. The working class having to support the dole. What happens if they go on strike? Atlas shrugged. The elderly condemned the working class in Scotland to escalating taxes and a life far worse than they've enjoyed. For this very reason, we will see civil unrest rise in Scotland as we see it everywhere else. Yes, those who have noticed how the computer picked up the election to the day without fundamentals is all based on how capital flows. The computer is capable of forecasting war and terrorist attacks based on the flow of capital. This is what government wanted all along. This is why they attacked Princeton economics for that technology. Nevertheless, the computer is forecasting a bright future for Europe, Britain, and Scotland. It looked like a rebound was due in the markets, and that was reflected only in a no vote. Had the yes vote taken it, we would have seen a greater meltdown. We can see now there's a trend shift with next week, but there should be another problem coming the first week of November. This by no means means this is over. As the economy turns down, the tensions between the workers who have to pay taxes and those who rely on government taking it from them legally will reach a head. As they say, it ain't over till the fat lady sings. We have a caller. Caller, you are on Peace News. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up this matter of the Scotland election there. I just wanted to see what you thought about some of the videos coming out on, there's some fraud involved. There's some videos showing people moving votes from no to yes, and people filling out cards. I just wanted to see what you thought about that, if that was something that was that looks credible, or maybe they're just trying to throw some more news at you, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I appreciate the comments. In my opinion, it would be a breaking headline news story if the headline were election results completely accurate, no malicious intent. This would be the first vote ever in the history of votes where one side weren't trying to take advantage in one way or another, or there were some foul play. I mean, that's common. I think most people who have paid attention to one or more elections in their lifetime are aware that voter fraud and malicious, nefarious dealings in votes, that happens. It's going to happen. We've seen videos of it happening during this election. So I'm unclear whether or not Scotland voted for or against independence. Like, I saw one video of a worker, maybe I could play the clip, but the news is like doing an overview of a bunch of the workers counting the votes that night, and she takes a pile from the yes side, moves them over to the no side, and then slides one back over to the yes side to sort of even them out. And this is after one of the election checker people comes by. So she thinks she's all good, right? The election person has come by, checked out her ballot, said, "Oh, okay, all right, everything looks good," and then that person walks away. So this vote counter person thinks, "Well, I have no more accountability. I can do whatever I want now," not realizing that there's a video camera on her live on CNN, and they caught her doing voter fraud. But no, is that going to be a news story? Is she going to be arrested? Of course not.
So, I mean, clearly they must know there's a camera there. It's not like it's a hidden camera, and so I just wondered, what are these people thinking? Is it purposely staged, or would you think it's more these people are just trying to get away with? I don't
think she knew the camera was there. I don't think they knew the camera was there. It was pretty high up.
Okay.
And she was focused on what she was doing, she was trying to find an opportunity. Like, if this were me, and I was trying to pull a fast one on the voting thing, and you have to put yourself in their shoes, right? If this were me, I would wait until the vote counter person had come by. That's my referee. That's the accountability person, right? So when accountability walks away, that's when you can do your nefarious dealings. And that's what this girl tried to do. It's pretty clear from the video clip. And I don't expect that there's going to be any sort of crackdown, because this is exactly what we expect. The vote happened exactly the way the establishment wanted it to go. And the 45 end up enslaved to the other 55%, that is.
And there's another video showing yes votes clearly in a no pile. I don't know if it was just a pile that was overflowing, but clearly on top. I mean, if you were going to put a stack, you wouldn't put the top one showing a yes. And it's just like, clearly it seems like there's a whole pile of yeses and a no stack. But,
it's so stupid. I mean, they're totally incompetent. These two people who are doing the job of, read a paper and put it in the appropriate pile. There are two piles to choose from. They still can't do it. The fact that there are people this stupid just tells us we shouldn't be voting in the first place. It's 2014. We have more accountable methods, like using a computer to do voting. But then, of course, you have to check the source code. You have to make sure that people aren't. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just a bad idea all around, altogether. Don't have a vote. How about this? Just declare personal independence. It takes writing a piece. Like about a paragraph on parchment paper and sending it to the Queen. I think the U.S. did that like 200 or so years ago, and that worked out pretty okay.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I say forget this voting for independence crap. It's bull.
Well, that's why I thought it was just. I appreciate the Declaration of Independence. At least that they would, affirm that we want to be free. Like I said, that we all deserve to be free, even though it's been 200 years under the slavery. It would be this statement would be powerful, even though they would be still under EU and they'd probably be, somewhat of a small contentious force then to get anything they want in the EU. But just the Declaration, I think, would speak volumes to the world and at least get them on the track of starting to vote for freedom.
It would be cool. I would like to see that. I don't think that going at Scotland independence, they wouldn't be independent. It would be a little bit smaller government, just a little bit. But all the politicians would work their way up to be the same position. It would be like changing the hood ornament on a car. I mean, it's not. You're not changing anything fundamental about the way people are living. What I like is the Shire Society, and I don't know if you've seen the Shire Society Declaration at shiresociety.com, but you can actually sign yourself and declare personal independence right down to the individual level. So forget your city and town and state and country. You can just declare independence for yourself at shiresociety.com, and then join up with others. Add yourself to the Shire Society map. See where others are in your area. I appreciate your thoughts, caller. Any other thoughts you want to share before we go?
No, well, your title says Government Candidate Arrested. I was kind of curious who the government candidate is.
I'll get to that story next. Thanks for your call. This is Peace News.
On LRN.FM, we talk a lot about alternative currencies. Did you know that now you can buy gold, silver, and other precious metals with Bitcoins? LRN.FM has partnered with Amaji Metals to bring you great prices on beautiful .999 fine silver, as well as gold, platinum, and other metals. Check out their selection and pay with Bitcoins or Federal Reserve notes at metal.lrn.fm. That's metal.lrn.fm. What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
If there was a place that liberty-minded people had been elected to political positions and were rolling back government, would you move there? If freedom lovers had secured a 20% voting bloc and can veto most bad bills, would you move? Well, the time has come to sign the pledge at freestateproject.org. These things have happened in New Hampshire, and you can join us and help. freestateproject.org. Sign up now at freestateproject.org.
Instead of just listening, you can also watch. See the Liberty Radio Network's Keene, New Hampshire-based live shows via our studio cam at cam.lrn.fm. Plus, you'll still be able to listen to the Liberty Radio Network via the cam feed in high quality 24/7, even when there's no live show being produced in our Keene studio. But wait, there's more. Our chat room is built into the cam page so you can interact with other listeners online. Listen, watch, and chat, all free at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love,
and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way.
Love as your guide.
And liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Whoa, welcome back. This is Peace News. I'm Derek J. We return to Scottish independence and, well, an interesting article from Daryl W. Perry over at fpp.cc. That's ensuring a free press for the freedom movement, freepresspublications.cc, as in Creative Commons. So fpp.cc. He's got this article, and I will get into it. The last caller referenced a story that I teased at the beginning of this episode, headlined, Florida gubernatorial candidate dares authorities to arrest him, and I will get to that story. But while we're still on this tear about Scottish independence and declaring personal independence from all governments at shiresociety.com, we've also got another story on this theme where 1 in 4 Americans wants to secede, that from Reuters. But let's go to this report by Daryl W. Perry explaining why the secessionist movements should declare independence from politics. He writes, on September 18th, more than 3.6 million Scots cast a ballot answering the question, should Scotland be an independent country? In the weeks leading up to the vote, the leaders of the Conservative, Labour, and Liberal Democrat parties vowed to cede some powers from the UK government to the Scottish Parliament if a majority of Scottish voters would reject independence. The Telegraph reports the leaders of the three main parties, quote, argued it would provide certainty for Scottish voters that further devolution would follow a no vote, and contrasted this with the doubts over the separate Scotland's finances, currency, and public spending. Quote, the legislation would for devolution has yet to be written. However, the plan is to give the Scottish Parliament more control over income tax and housing benefits. On the morning of September 19th, it was announced that 55% of Scottish voters cast a ballot opposing Scottish independence. Reuters reports, quote, British Prime Minister David Cameron promised, quote, not only to fulfill the pledge of Scotland, but also to make it part of an overhaul of the balance of powers across the rest of the United Kingdom, with the same time frame of a few months. This was not part of the pre-vote plan. It does not seem to have the support of the Labour Party. Ed Miliband, leader of the Labour Party, says that such changes would need to be approved by British voters next fall, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of fluff in this article, Daryl W. Perry. I'm going to tell you that now. But let me just skip to the chase and say the final paragraph says, quote, as a supporter of self-determination, I support all people who seek to declare independence. I also have hope within the next few years secessionist movements in the United States will be independent of national politics and that within my lifetime the U.S. federal government will no longer exist. Not sure if I missed the critical part of that article, but I agree with your sentiment, Daryl, and let's return to the news stories. 1 in 4 Americans wants to secede from the United States. Yes, I'll get to that. But as promised, since the caller asked by name, let's turn to the story of the gubernatorial candidate who dared authorities to arrest him, and let's find out what happened to him. We've got a quick news clip from Fox in Tampa Bay. They give a brief overview of what this guy got himself into. Here's a clip from YouTube that this man has posted. Take a listen.
My name is Alfred Adrian Wiley, and that's W-Y-L-L-I-E. I am currently at the North County Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, and I have just surrendered my driver's license. I wanted to advise the Sheriff's Office that it is my intention to continue to operate my personal vehicle and travel upon the public roads.
Notice he doesn't say drive.
I will be traveling upon US 19.
I will be traveling
between Curlew Road and Republic Drive.
So he lets him know where he's going to be.
The next half hour.
And when?
My vehicle is a black 2005 Chrysler 300, and my license tag is D007XE. It was living up to my oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. If there is an unconstitutional law, I believe it is our duty as Americans to reject that and to peacefully disobey unconstitutional laws, and that's what I've been doing. And for the past 3 years, I've been mounting a court challenge to that.
It is so important. He's absolutely right. I don't know who this guy is. I'd never heard of him before this news story, but he's absolutely right. It is our duty, not as Americans, but as human beings on this planet, to peacefully disobey bad laws. If you are someone who has a conscience and who operates your morality based on that conscience, then choose to do what's right. It's not that hard. Well, sometimes it can be, because the consequences can be death or rape or imprisonment. These are the real consequences of doing the right thing in 2014. That's the reality, but this guy's willing to do it, and I thought it was interesting. He does it like so the right way, too. He informs the government exactly where he's going to be, what he's doing, just to make it totally clear that he is not some threat that they get to, get their rocks off all excited, like, yeah, well, let's chase this criminal, let's beat him down. Like, he takes all the wind out of their sails by, making himself, by dressing all formal, the tie and suit jacket, by driving a nice car, having it all be clean, informing them over the phone, being polite. Like, he has distanced himself as far as possible from the criminal element and appearing like a criminal. And so he looks like Mr. Authority figure. He's a politician. And it's not that hard for him to dress the part. And he's doing peaceful civil disobedience. Could you imagine how different a world we would live in if more people would engage the same as this guy did? I've turned in my license. I'm going to be traveling from this part of the road to this part of the road. And you can do what you will. This is the car I'll be in. Here are my plates. And come and get me if you dare. If the police come and arrest him, they're really showing how stupid they are and how it's not about protecting people or public safety. It's really about compliance. You fit into our mold. We own you. We control you. We control where you go, where you are allowed to go. And if you go somewhere we say you're not allowed, you don't have that piece of plastic that gives you permission to use our roads, then we will come and put you in a cage. Now, wait a minute. That doesn't seem consensual. That doesn't seem like a government operating by the consent of the governed. It seems like a tyrannical government that's lost all control and is just seeking to destroy those who want to enjoy their freedom, to travel around God's green earth. It's just ridiculous. And I'm so glad that this man is willing to stand up for himself this way. So here's the article from myfoxtampabay.com. It seems you can never escape karma if you're a candidate for governor in Florida. That's a weird way to begin an article. Libertarian candidate Adrian Wiley learned that the hard way, spending several hours in jail Friday morning after being arrested for driving without a license. Oh, so they think that's karma. Like he's done something wrong and now he has to be punished. A bunch of crackpots. Wiley is getting exactly what he asked for. God, this makes me angry. For years, the candidate had stood defiant against licensing in the state. In Utah, it's like some authoritarians, they love to write about peaceful noncompliance because they love it when you get hurt. Like, oh, this person went against the authority and man, did they get it. Like, oh, I'm so happy about that. God, so sick, these people. All right, for years, the candidate has stood defiant against licensing in the state. The YouTube videos and in previous videos with Fox 13, Wiley has said he refuses to drive with a license because it's an invasion of privacy. At times, he has called police while driving without a license to taunt them. That didn't happen this time, he said. He told Fox 13 that he was pulled over in Collier County because his tag light was out. He's been arrested for driving without a license before. He previously surrendered his license in protest of the Real ID law. Wiley claims the law is unconstitutional because of the information it requires. To obtain a license is an invasion of privacy. He also made his opposition to this law a big issue in his campaign for governor. Wiley has bonded out of jail since his arrest. According to his arrest report, no mugshot was available. Wow. So if you've been waiting to vote for someone who's a part of the solution and you view Democrats and Republicans as part of the problem, maybe you are interested in Libertarian candidate Adrian Wiley. Of course, if you are interested in Adrian Wiley, well, then you're probably better off moving to New Hampshire instead of staying in the People's Republic of Florida. But, caller, you may disagree. What's on your mind? You're on Peace News.
Oh, thanks, Derek. I just chime in again here. I just appreciate you covering that candidate news. That's just amazing. The governing candidate not telling them outright that I turned my license, and I just think the guy's got some huge balls to do that. I think that's amazing. I was just considering this matter myself as as you learn about the corruption that goes on, and are you going to partake of it? Are you going to choose that road, or are you going to stand on the side of truth? And I just think we need more people like that, taking that stance, and there are a lot out there, but getting the, getting the publicity like he got.
I agree with you. We have to go to a break, but hold that thought. This is Peace News.
Since time began,
Hey, caller. So we are on our long break at the moment. You're welcome to stay over or call in again if you like, if you want to share more thoughts on freedom to travel. It's certainly a topic I love to get into. A good friend of mine, Michelle Seven, was arrested and caged for driving without a registration in her vehicles and went to jail for it rather than paid the fine. And when she left jail, she drove away in her unregistered truck. So it was like a beautiful, I don't know, that's the kind of peaceful resistance I want to see. More people saying, I'm not going to comply with this ridiculous law. This is a racket, and you don't own me, you don't own my vehicle, you don't get to tell me how I can use it. So I love this. And have you ever done civil disobedience or peaceful noncompliance?
Absolutely, and I don't mind bringing that on the air as well. Just a matter of the IRS. Just recently it's become, of course, I haven't paid for 7 years, but they just recently started garnishing my wages.
Damn it.
And so I chose to sell the business and to completely go off the grid.
Wow.
Something that, to sell something they will not want to go after. I mean, it comes down to...
That's heroic. Who are you? I don't recognize your voice. You must be a popular figure if you're someone who's willing to sacrifice his business to say, F you to the IRS.
Well, I'm just a guy. Yeah, I just decided that I just can't partake of. Once you learn about the evil, that they're doing with your money, they don't even tell you. They don't even tell you they don't tell you what to do with the money. But when Ron Paul did that audit and found out that we're sending money to $50 million to Gaddafi, and so we're sending money to these countries,
funding terrorism directly. It's not even a metaphor.
Exactly. So it's a moral issue, but beyond that, it's a legal issue that you're not even legal. You look at the who is taxed. There's a great website called whoistaxed.com, and they articulate that you are not even the person you're not even their customer. And in their own manual, they say that you're the customer, but you're not even their customer. I love this topic because obviously it's become personal to me.
Yeah.
But I would like, to talk about the matter of how we can fight the IRS and how we can to become someone who is not their target, on one end, to still live and survive, because the power of the tax is the power to destroy.
That's right.
So,
well, very good.
They don't have to,
hold those thoughts. We're coming back in 6 minutes, so I'll bring you right back on. You can either hold the line or you can call back in, your choice. And I look forward to speaking with you. Do you want to give a name or a location? It's pretty typical.
Yeah, I'm Daniel from Phoenix. Yeah.
Daniel from Phoenix. Okay, rad. Well, I look forward to chatting with you soon, Daniel.
Okay.
So candidate lost. Both positions are designed to be roughly equivalent in power, but it isn't clear how the split will ultimately be. How the results will be released is unclear as well, as Abdullah, believed to be trailing in the vote audit, had made a key demand of the power sharing that the Election Commission either release results without actual vote numbers or, by contrast, release phony numbers that made the race look closer than it actually was. The Abdullah camp had released considerable evidence of ballot stuffing being done by the commission itself on behalf of the Ghani campaign, and the two sides could not agree on how the audit would be carried out, meaning the vote was months ago and the results are still unclear. Ghani has agreed to a power-sharing framework in the past, but had also ruled out actually complying with those deals, saying that once the audit confirms his victory, he's free to do as he pleases. How that was resolved, as with other terms of the agreement, were not made public. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They now take Bitcoin for purchasing precious metals so you can turn your profits into a long-term investment. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing. 800-874-9760. The Associated Press reports the Secret Service has stepped up security outside the White House after a man with a knife who jumped the fence made it into the presidential residence before being apprehended. President Obama insisted he still has confidence in the beleaguered agency's ability to protect him and his family. Secret Service Director Julia Pearson ordered enhanced officer patrols and surveillance along the north fence of the compound just after the incident on Friday evening, which triggered a rare evacuation of the White House, as well as renewed scrutiny of the Secret Service. The agency said Pearson had also ordered a comprehensive review of what happened. President Obama and his daughters had just left the White House by helicopter on Friday evening when the Secret Service says 42-year-old Omar Gonzalez scaled the fence, darted across the lawn, and through the unlocked north portico doors before officers finally tackled him. According to the criminal complaint, when Gonzalez was apprehended, he told Secret Service agents he was concerned that the atmosphere was collapsing and needed to contact the president so he could get the word out to the people. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Coinbase. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. That's coinbase.fppradio.com. Reuters reports former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown urged leaders to keep their promises to grant further powers to Scotland after it voted to remain in the United Kingdom. The three biggest parties had promised to rapidly expand the Scots' autonomy in a last-minute push to shore up support for the Union just days before Thursday's referendum, which came down to 55-44 against independence. But within hours of the results, Britain's Prime Minister David Cameron had reshuffled the cards by promising not only to fulfill the pledge to Scotland, but also to make it part of an overhaul of the balance of power across the rest of the United Kingdom within the same time frame of a few months. He vowed to produce a balanced settlement fair to the people of Scotland, and importantly to everyone in England, Wales, and Northern Ireland as well. An announcement quickly shattered the pre-referendum consensus among London's main parties. Labour opposition leaders said plans for constitutional change on that scale needed to be put to members of the public through a convention after the next parliamentary election, which Cameron's Conservatives said amounted to kicking the issue into the long grass. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
I'm Brooke Alvarez, and while I may not acknowledge your presence in person, and if you try to approach me, I'm hit in the face with the stinging nettles I carry on me at all times, I like to take a moment every now and again to answer your questions so that you can get to know the real me. Here's a tweet from @Kirkamunga saying, what is the most important thing to remember when talking to people who may not be as informed as you? I love this question, Kirkamunga. There are 3 simple steps to dealing with uninformed people. First, when you realize that someone doesn't know something, repeat very loudly in their face the thing they don't know. For example, you don't know who the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe is? Second, look to everyone around you and let them know that this person is completely ignorant. Hey everyone, Sebastian doesn't know who the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe is. Third, you call up the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe and tell him that Sebastian doesn't know who he is, and then laugh really loudly until the ignorant person just leaves in utter shame. If you'd like to ask me a question, just tweet it to my handle at Brooke Alvarez or post it to my Facebook wall.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back. It's the top of the hour, second hour here on the live Sunday, September 21st, 2014 edition of Peace News. We've got a caller on the line who wants to talk about Scottish independence, and yes, I spoke with Daryl W. Perry during the break, and he pointed out that I skipped the most important paragraph of his article. So let me just recap it here for you. He says, here in the U.S., the Reuters Ipsos poll found that nearly 1 in 4 Americans are open to the idea of secession in some sense. The poll found that 24% say they strongly supported or tended to support the idea of their state leaving the U.S. The poll did not ask if people supported other states withdrawing from the U.S. and seemed to indicate that support for secession seems to be directly tied to the party affiliation of the president. Isn't that interesting? So people really don't get the idea of independence. It's, oh, I don't like this guy and I want to reject this guy. It's not about having sovereignty over their bodies or their money or their property. It's just, I don't like this person and I want to pull a lever to say that. But returning to us on the phones is Daniel in Phoenix, was it?
Correct, yeah.
Hey, Daniel in Phoenix. So you've got some heroic history to you that you shared with me during the break, and you had some thoughts that you wanted to share both on the gubernatorial candidate in Florida, Adrian Wiley, and the idea of secession here in the U.S. So go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, and this is quite important. I think you exposed me there when you said, who am I? What I should have responded to that question is, I'm just the people. I'm just we the people. You know, I'm not even a person. That's kind of corporate. I'm not an individual.
I just learned that today. Person is a legal, like it's a legally defined legalese term. And so, like, there's a man, you're a man, and there's also a person, which is like a fictional entity that the state uses to do things to you.
Right. So we are just people of the state that we reside in. That's the way to delineate yourself from the corporate person, which was created at your birth. When you sign that, I just recently had a son, and we did not do a birth certificate. We did not corporatize my son.
Why not?
Into the system. Because when you corporatize, now you're taking on the liability of, you're becoming debt. You're becoming a liability to the debt of the government. They basically own it. On that birth certificate, that is a certificate as if a cargo comes into their ship. You know, you're birthed into their port. And they're given the certificate, and they actually have ownership of that corporate name, which you have the right to use. It's not even you, right? It's a corporate name that maybe you've chosen. But anyway,
but doesn't that make you? I think that's heroic of you, and more people need to be doing that. But doesn't that make you weird? Let me play devil's advocate here. Like, what about your kid? Isn't he going to be able to not get a driver's license? You
don't need a birth certificate. We didn't have birth certificates until 1930-something. You don't need one today. You can still get a passport. You can still live. You can still do all these things.
Yeah, but isn't it more difficult?
It becomes more. That's the thing. Yeah, being the devil's advocate, you lose convenience obviously by not having one, because now you've got to get your family Bible out and show that you got to get an affidavit of truth.
So why do it?
Well, this comes down to freedom. Back to the Scotland vote. This comes down to the guy's driver's license statements. It comes down to tax freedom, just freedom in general, that we are free people, and that we the people created the laws, and we are a people of law, but we should not be enslaved by those that want to change the meaning of this law, like in 1871 when they corporatized the United States, all capital letters. If you actually, the original Constitution says United States, capital U, lowercase n.
Right.
So to capitalize the United States, it makes it a corporate entity. And so this happened sneakily in 1871, and it's really damaged the document that we the people created. So we put us back under British rule essentially, and also because the British held corporation.
I gotta interject here and say that while I think what you're saying, might be true, historically accurate, accurate. I don't think that's really the issue. It's more about what people believe. It's what's in people's minds. It's not what's on paper or how the, judges and the people like cops who are operating as tyrants. They don't think like, oh, well, I have the authority because the United States is in all capital letters, and in 1860 something there was this decision. They don't know that stuff. It's about people's perceptions of authority. That's what really needs to get struck here: is who has authority over you and your life.
Yes. Yeah, it's just the premise of knowing who you are. When you asked who I was, I'm not a slave of the corporation. So it empowers you to know who you are. It empowers you to know what you're doing. It just empowers the individual to have this mindset. Not that you would use this, go into a court, and use this against the judge there, the admiral. And there's another key is just that you do not consent. You do not consent to their jurisdiction.
I love it. I want more peaceful resistance. I want saturation of this idea where everyone's down with not consenting and only following their conscience, because I think that would right the world. So tell me how this relates to the gubernatorial candidate who was recently arrested for driving without a driver's license.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's seeing freedom in all areas, and just if you just study history, you can see how initially the driver's license was brought in for truckers and those of commerce, and then so it is a commerce license, and then later on they started putting everyone else into the category of driver through the wordage and the laws. So this is a matter of slowly being pulled into losing your rights and getting some type of privilege. It's the same thing with the taxation. It's losing your rights to work. You have the right to physically work and not be taxed to death for it. And so it's just a matter of getting back to basic principles of freedom, whether it is to travel, whether it is to work and not be taxed, whether it is to just to have freedom, to vote for freedom, to vote and not have voter fraud, and people that have the money to just persuade, to take away what is yours,
Yeah, you say to get back to the ideas of freedom. I'm not sure humanity was ever there. I know that Voltaire and people long before have worked on articulating these ideas of self-ownership and freedom, true freedom, freedom from taxation, freedom to travel, freedom to have a family and own property. But these ideas have never really existed in the world as far as I've seen in my readings of history, because there have always been some group of people that's taxed or owned by a government. Isn't that true?
Yep, it's true. And we've had the greatest experiment of freedom, as some have said, in the U.S. I mean, the taxation on everyone was brought in through war and then taken away by the people, and then brought in through war and then taken away by the people, and then finally stuck pretty good in the 1913 and into the war, actually 1950s, before it was a high percentage of people were actually under the taxation. So we've had a great experience of freedom that we just want to learn from and continue down that path. So yeah, there hasn't been anything perfect, but at least the principles have been there, because we've seen the enslavement under England and under different countries. There's been the enslavement. So those that have come out of that. And of course, we haven't personally, but we can at least learn from our forefathers that come out of slavery.
And you're not just all talk. You're not just philosophical ideas here. You've got action too.
Well, yeah. I mean, I chose to take a stand against the IRS. Of course, I was a 1099 employee. I was, the company took a 1099 on me, but I never filed. Never filed my taxes. So 7 years later, I became a target for the IRS to go after, and they started wage garnishment, and they can levy your whole paycheck.
And wage garnishment, that's a euphemism for stealing from your wages, right? They just take part of your wages right before your employer ever gets it to you.
Literally all of my wages. They can take all of your wages, not meaning you have expenses and all these things. They can take everything.
So you're working for them. You're no longer
Exactly.
working for yourself. You are cattle owned by the government farmer. Well, I appreciate your call, Daniel. A lot to share, and I always appreciate those who are willing to put their money where their mouth is. So thank you for being that brave, courageous person. This is Peace News.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin, any takers for renters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way.
You can do that and you have to leave here. You cannot out.
What would be? Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today. You ain't gonna make it. Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 213-490-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
We're back at Peace News, where it's all secession all the time. We're talking about how 1 in 4 Americans wants to secede from the United States. Is that really true? Do they even know what that means? Let's get into it. An article from thelibertarianrepublic.com. Austin Peterson writes, A new Reuters poll, which asks Americans if they want their state to secede from the Union of the United States, has found that 1 in 4 Americans would say yes. Secession was supported mostly from the usual suspects, such as Republicans over Democrats, right-leaners, low-income brackets, high school over college grads, etc. However, there was also a surprising amount of support in almost every group and region overall. From Reuters, quote, secession got more support from Republicans than Democrats, more from right than left-leaning independents, more from younger people than older people, more from lower than higher income brackets, more from high school than college grads. But there was a surprising amount of support in every group and region, especially in the Rocky Mountain states, the Southwest, and the old Confederacy, but also in places like Illinois and Kansas. And of the people who said they most identified with the Tea Party, supporters of secession were actually in the majority, with 50. Libertarians generally support the idea of secession in principle. The right of self-determination for individuals and states is a commonly accepted belief for those who are skeptical of big government. However, not every historic attempt at secession is seen as legitimate in libertarian circles, and many who are such individualists can still believe in this perpetual union of states, while holding a principle of secession as a right. The American Civil War is a contentious issue amongst American libertarians even today. Some argue that the South was legitimately within their rights to break away from the North, citing the tyranny of the Northern tariffs and the right of self-determination. Still, many other libertarians argue, myself included, that's Austin Peterson, that there is no right of secession when the expressly stated purpose in doing so is to maintain chattel slavery. The Southern states did claim the right in their Articles of Secession, founding document, to hold men and slaves and to expand the particular institution to new territories. That is in dispute, by the way. The act of the, there were certainly some states that wanted to secede so that they could continue slavery, but how much longer would that really exist if they were the only ones doing it, if there weren't governments catching slaves still, if it weren't legally allowed, if there were states surrounding them where slaves could get free. I mean, slavery would not have continued if the South had been able to peacefully secede. It probably would have existed for a few more years and then just fizzled out, same as it did in every other place in the world when slavery became legal in the surrounding area, or when slavery became illegal in the surrounding areas. Oy vey. The act of the United States seceding from England has much less contentious issue, blah, blah, blah. Austin Peterson, very wordy. Let's skip to the bottom. And he says, as I've argued before, I believe it's not the time for the advancement of the issue of secession in the United States. Aw, lame. Perhaps nullification, but not separation. Despite my sincere, strong beliefs in the principle of secession, I do not believe that any state in this union seceding would advance the principles of individual liberty in any way. It would most likely only engender hatred, jealousy, and the encouragement of hostility and alienation between newly strange people who were once familiar. Yeah, like if California just seceded, suddenly Silicon Valley and all the friends in Nevada and Utah are just going to say, oh, those people are strange. I'm not going to do business with them. I can't trust them anymore. Ridiculous, Austin. You make no sense. There's a lot of fear-mongering. These people just believe that, oh, we must preserve the union, right? Because there is some concept of a union here. There is no union. I'm not associated with any other person in the world except for those who I do business with, I contract with. I'm not associated with Ron Paul or Obama, any of these people, just because we're under the same umbrella of the federal government of the United States of America. Just not part of my life, probably not part of yours either. If you just stop to think about it for a second, did you ever consent to the rules of the government? Did you opt in? Do you have the power to opt out? It was very interesting. Anyway, I want to stick to peaceful resistance. If you're not willing to secede, move to New Hampshire, or declare independence in any other way, maybe you're interested in this form of peaceful resistance. A 1960s-style protest disrupts Cheltenham High. This from mobile.philly.com. I guess it's on the regular philly.com as well, but I'm reading it from the mobile site. No headphones in the hallway, no eating outside, one-way stairwells. Come on, man. The newly enforced rules at Cheltenham High School were too much for about 500 students who staged a sit-in on Friday to protest. It was right out of the 60s, said Principal Iris Parker. About a third of the Montgomery County School students sat peacefully in the hallway during first period as teachers, administrators, and security guards milled about, wondering what decade they were in. Parker said she did not want to interfere since, quote, they have the right to assemble and they need to have their voices heard. Students gave her a petition late Thursday with their list of demands, but Parker said she didn't have time to respond. By Friday morning, the sit-in was on. Students crowded the hallway from 7:40 to 8:30 a.m. In less than an hour, the school caved. Parker said she agreed to some compromises in a sit-down with student leaders Ian Morris, Syed Rashid, Sam Bradbury, and Julia Francis, all seniors. She said the maintenance staff had already doubled the number of trash cans outside so the students could eat lunch on school grounds without littering. She also conceded that students could wear earbuds in the hallway, but noise-canceling headphones were right out since, quote, they can't hear us, and it's not safe. It's not safe to wear noise-canceling headphones. The one-way stairway rule is out. Students suggested the school put tape down the middle and promised they would stay on the right side of the divider. And they can follow through and encourage their peers to follow, and we can work with them. How hard is it to figure out stairs? Jesus Christ. The student leaders were in class and not available for interviews, Parker said, so all that they have left to say is, quote, power to the people. Okay, kind of cool, kind of lame. Let me see where I fall down on this. First of all, kids, if you don't like your school, effing leave. No reason for you to be there. You're not getting any sort of benefit from there. If you really think you're getting a benefit from there, then put up with their crap. Let their silly rules reign over you. Let them wash over you and cleanse your dirty soul. School knows best. The administrators know best. That's why they're in charge. So I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. You should be able to walk upstairs. You should be able to chew gum or do whatever you need to do in an education. It's not like it disrupts the students if you're eating. I used to eat in my Latin class on a regular basis because, like, I had a really late lunch, so I needed to eat something to keep myself awake. And the teacher didn't mind. I didn't bother anyone. I'm eating like pretzel sticks or a sandwich or something. What's the deal? How about allowing freedom in these places? Oh no, everything would collapse. Can't have freedom in a government school. So just get out of the government school. If you want freedom, get out. All right. Let's move on. Apple will no longer unlock iPhones for police. This is an important one. It's so important that they're reporting about it at policeone.com. That's a blog for police and law enforcement to blog at and comment on. So the headline, Apple will no longer unlock iPhones for police. Subheadline, Apple said Wednesday that it is makeable for the company to turn over data from most iPhones or iPads to police, even when they have a warrant. This is an interesting development, one I look forward to seeing, because I've criticized Apple in the past for being too friendly with government. Now it looks like they're finding a way to keep the government's hands out of your iPhone. We've got more stories of peaceful resistance. This is Peace News.
Keenvention is coming up October 31st through November 2nd. Get your tickets now at keenvention.info. Keenvention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, attend social events like the Costume Party. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, James Robin Hood Cleveland, Rich Paul, and Free State Project President Carla Garrick will be keynoting. And we'll have all kinds of panels, including the new Cop Block panel and the new Movers panel, hosted by Law Josie Wales. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 31st through November 2nd. Only 100 tickets are available in advance, so lock yours in now for just $60 or with Bitcoin. Reserve your tickets now at keenvention.info. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
Anyone can publish on the internet, but not everyone is publishing material suited for online reading. According to the Yahoo Style Guide, it cautions that internet content has a few seconds, 3 or less, to encourage people to
Hello, James. I am here. We will be back in 2 minutes.
pages. So make it easy for readers to pick and choose.
What makes you think the Civil War, if it didn't happen, slavery would have ended in a few years, Derek J?
I don't know. We can talk about that. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
I don't know either. Where'd you get it from?
At the beginning of headlines and paragraphs. Those for your keywords, what someone would likely type into the search box on Yahoo or Google. For more tips on communicating better online or in a job interview or everyday life, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live.
I look up on internet and tried to research some stuff that everybody's been talking about. And you know, it's all true.
What?
It's true.
What is?
Everything that's going on in this country.
The heck are you talking
Everything that you're talking about, I'm talking about 9/11.
We don't talk about that.
Everything.
Yeah, you're being incredibly vague.
I know what's going on. I mean, people get in an airplane and they talk about, well, they were talking on this plane and they were doing this from that to this and that.
I have no idea
Cell
what
phones
is this
didn't
and
work
that.
back then.
What is this
So
and that?
how do-
You need to be a lot less vague, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Everything, Dale.
Everything
is true.
Everything is true. Okay, that's going on in this
Yes,
country.
what I'm trying to tell. Everything is true, but they will not.
Everything.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. You can interact with other LRN listeners in our message board at forum.lrn.fm. That's forum.lrn.fm.
We return to Peace News. This is Derek J. reporting from derekj.me. You can call in, share your stories of peaceful resistance, or criticize something I've said, as one caller on the line may be doing in just a moment. The number is 443-424-8347, or send a Skype contact request to PeaceNewsNow. I will put you on the air, like I am doing now, with James Witt, who joins us from Arizona. Welcome, James.
Thanks for taking me on, Derek J. Again, all I've ever asked of you is first tell the truth, and then allow me to give my opinion. Because if I can guarantee you, you don't owe it to me, you owe it to yourself. For I can criticize you for a half hour, unlike Daniel, if you gave me the airtime, to challenge you to think a second time.
Okay.
And I don't know where you got this wishful thinking that leave aside the nearly 700,000 soldiers that lost their lives in 4 years with weapons that are ancient to us today.
Just
where
terrible.
you get off thinking that slavery was going to disappear in the good old South in a few years, so that the war, I guess, was all for naught, and you know this because?
Well, I don't know that for sure. That's speculation on my part.
I wouldn't call it speculation. I would say it's not factual at all.
Well, we don't know what would have happened had the war not begun, and it certainly wasn't necessary in any other country besides the U.S. In all other countries where slavery was made illegal or the government simply stopped catching slaves, slavery just disappeared within the span of a few years. It was totally peaceful.
That's not necessarily entirely true, and slavery still exists in many countries in the world.
Including the United States. The definition of slavery has
I
just
wouldn't
changed.
disagree with you about financial slavery. We're talking about servitude by the barrel of a gun, do what I say.
So am I. You may not be aware, but there are more slaves in the U.S. today than there were when slavery was legal.
It's an insult to the people that had to bear with the institution of slavery and live on a plantation to compare anything that your life or any of your friends'
No,
lives.
that's not. No, I understand. Yeah, that would be an insult to them. That would be an insult, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like sex trade, people like children who are brought in from other countries, mostly through New Jersey. It's one of the major ports of modern-day slavery, which still exists today in this country.
And I'm against murder as well, and it still exists in this country today. And
Yeah,
I'm not here to.
I'm just saying, you know, I've got friends who work on the slavery issue, and I'm not talking about the metaphorical sense. I'm saying that slavery in its modern form, you know, it still exists today. People are trapped in houses.
Okay, Derek J. That's not what I was talking about when I brought up the issue of slavery with you, and the absurd proposition that with the war between the states never had to happen, that slavery would have just disappeared in a few years.
Well, that's how it worked in other countries. Why is the U.S. different? Why did 500,000 people have to die, and no one had to die in Argentina?
That's not a retort. You're just making up things and then saying that I'm right, you're wrong. Okay,
No, wait a minute. I've provided a historical example of Argentina, a country that got rid of slavery simply with the stroke of a pen, saying, hey, the government's no longer going to catch slaves. We're not going to send them back to the slave master. That's all it took. You know,
they didn't have the Southerners in Argentina willing to stick up a gun at a Northerner coming across that invisible line from the north into South Carolina. They didn't have those people. Unfortunately, the South did, and they lost 300,000 people because of it.
Wait a minute. The North allowed slavery because when a slave had escaped, it was the law that they had to return them.
Some people did.
Well,
return slaves.
Yeah, well,
slaves. There were other people
that's
that
immoral.
I agree with you, Derek J.
Well, that was in the North, and I'm saying, like, you don't need to fight a battle. You just need to change that law.
You win this argument, Derek J. You're right. The war between the states never had to happen, and slavery would have just disappeared in a few years. You're right. But can I move on to other topics about, like, for instance, the absurdity of how you reduce people that didn't vote the way you wanted to in Scotland as being stupid and gullible and...
First of all, I don't think anyone should have voted for anything. They should have just declared personal independence.
You spent the first hour talking about it and pillaring people that voted the way you didn't want them to vote as being old and takers. Leave aside they spent their entire life.
I mean, that's what the facts bear out. Most of them were elderly and on the dole.
Talking about your opinions, not facts.
No, that's a fact.
You disparage people that didn't vote the way you voted, wanted them to vote and call because you say they're gullible.
Well,
and
I trust Reuters. They're the ones who did the reporting on that. I mean, I didn't interview these people at the polls.
Right. Reuters is well known, like Russia today, is a far left bent. They're not an objective news reporting agency any more than Liberty Radio Net.
Well, then it was mostly leftists who voted against independence, so then they should have been even more swayed against independence. They should have been painting these people in a positive light then.
Of course, they're all leftists who voted for it, and they're all the people that didn't vote for it are all stupid, and they want to live on the government dole.
No, I don't think you're listening. I'm saying that leftists did not support independence, and so if you're saying that...
I heard what you said. I'm not a leftist. Okay, I despise leftism. I also despise people that.
It's also worth mentioning that leftism and conservatism mean different things in the UK than they do here in the
We're
US.
talking about the American model, but the funny thing is, it took an hour and a half before you decided to call them leftists. They weren't leftists at the beginning of the show when you spoke for the first hour about.
They're UK style leftists, which is different from here in the U.S., which is why I make that distinction. The terms are almost flip-flopped.
I know. So you're calling.
Well, yeah, but not all listeners know that, so I want to make that clear.
Right. Okay. Now they're conservatives. Just want to make that clear, but you didn't make it clear an hour ago to your audience. But again, you pillar the people that don't vote the way you want them to vote, and then since they didn't vote the way you wanted to vote, well, they shouldn't have had to vote anyway and just declare themselves independents. Which is another funny
but the
thing.
U.S. didn't have a vote for independence.
Yeah, they declared war. They
declared independence.
Was a suicide pact. They knew it. They didn't know they were going to win the war, and many of those people knew they were signing their death.
I'm for individual independence, and all I recommend is that people go to the website shiresociety.com and sign the Shire Society Pledge. Declare personal independence.
It's been on the online for 10 years now, and in New Hampshire you have 1,600 signatories. That's almost the equivalent of zero in the
You mean
population of New Hampshire.
You mean 16,000?
No, the people that live in New Hampshire, they actually moved to New Hampshire.
They wouldn't be signatories. The people who signed they number 16,000, and the people who have moved, picked up and moved their whole lives, their families, they number 1,600. I think that's quite a lot.
16,000 people, immediately all those signatories lived in New Hampshire. That would represent 16,000 out of approximately probably near a 500,000 people that have the right to suffrage in New Hampshire. So the number is as close to zero as 1,600 is to 1.
Wait a minute, they're declaring personal independence. It doesn't really matter how many people are in the geographic boundary known as New Hampshire. I mean, if you're declaring personal independence, you're free. No matter how many people are around you.
The public airwaves in the New Hampshire, talking to me on the public airwaves, have a standard of living that many people on planet Earth would only dream of.
What's this have to do with standard of living?
Because I'm free too, and I don't need to sign the New Hampshire, whatever you call it, to be free. Just like it doesn't have to say that he's free.
Closing thoughts, because you're not adding anything to the show at this point.
No, I'm criticizing.
All right, well, no more thoughts. If that's what you want to say, I appreciate your thoughts. Sometimes you add something productive to the show, James. Not so much today. And, I would love to talk more about whether or not a war which killed 500,000 people was necessary for the abolition of slavery. I don't think it was. I gave an example of Argentina. There are some other examples throughout the world as well. But, I'm no expert on that. I just know that there are some historical examples where slavery was able to end just by the government stopping catching slaves. That's what happened here in the U.S., remember, that slavery was legal in the South, of course, not illegal in the North, but then if slaves escaped from the South to the North, there was a law that said you had to return them, and that's immoral. And so if the government just got rid of that law that said you have to return runaway slaves, slavery would have ended. All the slaves would have run away, and that would have been the end of it. But James thinks that over 500,000 people needed to die in order to end slavery. I don't think that's true, and given historical precedent for it, I don't know much what else I can do. This is Peace News. We'll return to final stories of peaceful resistance. A kid gets detention for sharing lunch with a classmate. Bitcoin ATMs take over New Hampshire, and San Francisco restaurant wages war.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson. Attention men who've taken androgel or any other testosterone therapy products. Androgel or other low-T products have been linked to heart attack, stroke, pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, even death. Scientific studies indicate that the use of testosterone therapy products may double a man's risk of heart attack. If you or a loved one took androgel or a testosterone therapy product and suffered from a heart attack, stroke, pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, or any other cardiac event, you might be entitled to financial compensation. You have rights, and you need to let us fight for your rights. And you pay no fees unless we win. So call the tort attorneys right now. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. 800-708-7917. Cases may be referred to participating law firms in your jurisdiction.
If you can't listen to the Liberty Radio Network's internet streams, free satellite channel, or radio affiliates, no worries. You can listen to LRN.FM from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0309. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked into our stream 24 hours a day. Call 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Shiny badges on your jacket, shiny badges.
This is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and I just want to personally apologize for airing a jingle week after week, month after month, that turned out to be such an infectious brainworm. So to make it up to you, I'm offering a free gift. The next time you make a purchase at ShinyBadges.com, write worms in the transaction comments, and I'll send you something weird.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website, fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper news at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
From the chat room, Lugosi writes, slavery was legal in a few northern states, including New Jersey, and it was obvious to the rest of the world what it was about, what the Civil War was about. It was about independence, sovereignty, and the ability for states that opted into a union to opt out. Lincoln was pretty clear that it was not about slavery, he says, and of course, Lincoln's proclamation specifically excluded every Union-occupied territory from freeing slaves, which means the proclamation freed 0 slaves. It only applied to rebel-controlled territories. Hell, he even listed specific parishes in Louisiana which were Union-occupied to exclude them. It was purely for military and political purposes. He gave no darn about black slaves. He wanted them all expelled to Liberia. Very interesting thoughts from the chat room. You can, of course, join other listeners in the chat room at my website, derekj.me, or at lrn.fm, or also at PeaceNewsNow.com/live. Now, let's return to a positive story that they're putting a sad face on over at police1.com. That's because the police are unhappy that Apple will no longer allow them to unlock iPhones and iPads. Take a listen to this report by Reuters.
Apple trying to polish its tarnished image as a protector of user privacy after that leak of nude celebrity photos from Apple accounts. It said it keeps data on Apple devices so secure that even cops can't get to it. In a letter posted on the company's website, CEO Tim Cook said his company offered better privacy protection than his rivals. Promoting Apple's revised privacy policy, he said, "Unlike our competitors, Apple cannot bypass your passcode and therefore cannot access this data. So it's not technically feasible for us to respond to government warrants for the extraction of this data from devices in their possession running iOS 8. Cook said Apple now protects all the data stored in iCloud, and he encouraged customers to use the two-step verification process to defend themselves from hackers. American internet users have been concerned about online security ever since the leak of classified information by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden led to the revelation that the government had tapped into users' Google and Yahoo accounts. Missing from the launch of Apple's latest operating system yesterday was its HealthKit apps. The company said it had discovered a bug in its app platform. Apple pledged to make those apps available by the end of this month. Apple shares rose slightly in early trading, just shy of its all-time.
Yeah, blah, 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 Apple shares. But I think it's pretty interesting that Apple is now claiming that even police with a search warrant will not be able to access the information on their phones. Here, Apple said Wednesday that it is making it impossible for the company to turn over data from most iPhones or iPads to police, saying taking a new hard line as tech companies attempt to blunt allegations that they have too readily participated in government efforts to collect user information. The move, announced with the publication of a new privacy policy tied to the release of Apple's latest mobile operating system, iOS 8, amounts to an engineering solution to a legal quandary. Rather than comply with binding court orders, Apple has reworked its latest encryption in a way that prevents the company or anyone but the user's, the device's owner, from gaining access to the vast troves of user data typically stored on smartphones or tablets. The key is the encryption that Apple mobile devices automatically put in place when a user selects a passcode, making it difficult for anyone who lacks that passcode to access the information within, including photos, emails, and recordings. Apple once maintained that the ability to unlock some content on devices for legally binding police requests, but will no longer do so for iOS 8, it said, according to the new privacy policy. So there you go. What are the police saying about this? Well, the top comment, according to police1.com, remember this is a website or a blog for police. It's so everyone commenting is a law enforcement officer somewhere. First comment, well, let's see what happens when one of those honchos of Apple gets homicided and the info is in the DOA's locked or secured phone. Anyone want to bet the company will know how to unlock it? Next comment, your hypothetical situation won't occur here. You can get court orders till you're blue in the face. It won't matter. It's not a matter of company policy to unlock the phones. It's a matter of Apple no longer having the ability to unlock the phones. They removed themselves from the loop. It was smart thinking on their part as it removed some of the headaches for them. Very interesting that law enforcement is actually getting this. They're saying, hey, we can't even make them comply. They don't have the ability anymore. Very interesting that they have decided to choose that move. All right, so this is another very interesting act of peaceful resistance, not one I support. I am totally against this, but listen up to what they've done. At least it's peaceful. Can't argue with that, and I'm not going to intrude or stop these people from what they want to do, but listen. The San Francisco restaurant has stepped up to the plate to wage war on Yelp. Stacy writes at uprocks.com. I personally like Yelp. Over the last few years, the only poor dining experiences I've had were a result of not consulting with the user-generated review site, usually decisions made not of my own volition. Business owners, on the other hand, have long since had a tumultuous relationship with Yelp, since reviews cannot be altered or deleted, and disgruntled customers often leave unfair reviews. But I feel like most informed consumers can effectively weed through the BS. One Italian restaurant in the San Francisco area, however, has revealed what may be a much more insidious side to Yelp, and, if true, this could potentially mean that Yelp is basically the equivalent of the online mafia. Botto Bistro co-owner David Carenti claims that at one time he was getting as many as 15 to 20 calls a week from Yelp asking them to advertise. Eventually they did, spending approximately $270 for a 6-month time period. Once the restaurant stopped, the positive reviews turned negative, and a positive review even vanished. As such, Sorrenti decided to give the middle finger to Yelp and aspire to be the worst reviewed restaurant on the site, offering 25% to customers who left a 1-star review, which in turn prompted a threatening email from Yelp due to offering incentives in exchange for reviews. That is against their policies, so they are not abiding by that agreement. Sorrenti spoke with San Francisco Gate on the controversy, quote, I don't have anything against Yelp. The idea is fantastic, but the blackmailing thing is ferocious. I think it should be one thing. I think I should be the one deciding if I'm on the site or not. At least I can be there on my own terms. The only power they have is to make you reliable to them. So I'm only going to be one of the most unreliable restaurants. I want to be the worst restaurant there is in the Bay Area, he says. I think this is the best business move I've made in years. If nothing else, the whole thing has made for some pretty interesting Yelp reviews. Here's a few examples. 1 star. I wish there was a 0-star option. I'd give that to them. My food arrived before I wanted it to come. It was too hot to eat. I brought a pack of all kinds of terrible memories. It brought back all kinds of terrible memories of eating in Italy. Don't go. You won't regret not dining there. Another 1-star review. Dreadful. Too many happy people inside. And despite what I was expecting, not a single banh mi on the menu. Another 1-star review. It might have well has been Italy. Yuck. Uno star for you. Bato. Another one. I've never eaten here, and I hate it already. I'm planning to bring my entire family this weekend so we can experience this loathsome hovel in person and properly register our disdain. Very interesting for people to take this sort of power into their own hands. Last week we talked about how social media sites like Facebook and Reddit are sort of developing governments of their own, right? Because they have private property, they have domain over that property, so Yelp gets to decide what goes onto their website or not. Maybe they did take away some of those positive reviews. Maybe they are sort of strong-arming businesses to give them support. But if they are doing that, then wouldn't there be some other Yelp-like service popping up to take their place? I mean, shouldn't the market be holding these companies accountable, these governments, right? Because there is competition for things like apps, which are free downloads. You know, if I want to know where to eat in a city, I can download Yelp, or I can look for other Yelp alternatives. If I hear unpopular things like, oh, Yelp is strong-arming businesses into getting them to advertise and then taking away their positive reviews. That's not the kind of thing I want to hear. So, all right, while I was critical of the San Francisco business owner before, now I've changed my tune. So good for you, David Sorrenti of Bato Bistro. Interesting form of peaceful resistance. I like your creative spirit. All right, now this one's very important. We have to get to this before the end of the episode. Illinois judge declares SWAT raids over a parody Twitter account are A-OK. A SWAT team burst into Peoria House looking for the source of a parody Twitter account. Said it upset the town's mayor. This from The Guardian. Oh no, that sound means we're not going to make it to the end of this episode. So we won't get to this story, but check it out. You can find all of the show notes at PeaceNewsNow.com and my website, derekj.me. If you want to hear about the Illinois judge who says SWAT raiding people over parody Twitter accounts is okay, or if you want to hear a recap of anything else. We'll be back on Tuesday. Free Talk Live is up next.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the idea